and there's a huge, tremendous flash, and the thing comes flying out of it. And we have images that go up the yin-yang on these things, and they're not hoaxed. They're not photoshopped. So these ships are real. They're either coming directly here to the Earth, or they're going to their bases that used to be on Mars, which still exist.
I think there is bases, on Mars and the Moon, and I think that they're probably even populated in some areas.
Well look at Revelation. If you look at what Revelation, the 12th chapter says, it's interesting. It says that war breaks out in heaven, and that the great dragon battled with Michael and his angels, and Michael and his angels battled with the great dragon, but the dragon did not prevail. And so down to the earth it was thrown, and it dragged a third of the stars with them. Now, this is a battle that takes place exactly where we're not told. If it's in this dimension, maybe it is. If it's not, maybe it's in another dimension. But something happens, and this extraterrestrial war, which is recorded here, breaks out, and the satanic forces are thrown down to the earth. And it says, woe for the earth, because the devil has been cast down to you with great anger, knowing he's got a short amount of time. So they're in retreat. So guess what? Yeah, they're here. And then you go to the 19th chapter, and this is where it says the King of Kings is coming with the armies of the multiverse. Now, let's go back almost 2,000 years ago when Jesus was ready to be impaled, and Pilate said, is your kingdom part of this world? And Jesus said, if my kingdom were part of this world, they would have, my followers would have defended me that I would not be offered up. And he said, my kingdom is no part of this world. But guess what? Evidently, this earth, this planet, is now part of this life form that we know as Jesus. It's in his kingdom, and it's in violation, and there's a war going on, and that's why we are seeing these things. And people just like, oh, yeah, UFOs, whatever. No, you know what? This is exactly what it says. Now, it's interesting. There's a scripture which says that there are 4 angels which are holding back the winds of the earth. Exactly who's in command of these 4 creatures, these 4 life forms, these 4 extraterrestrials, we're not told. We're told that they're holding back the destruction. Once they release these winds, it's like we get hit from every side, so to speak. So there's a whole record throughout the biblical, right from our very creation, there's a whole record of alien involvement or extraterrestrial involvement within the human race right into our future. And the church has done its best since they put the Bible canon together and realized what it contained. They did its best to keep it subdued, and then in the last 100 years start to scoff at it. And we've had more people turn around and say, oh, the Bible's been changed so many times. Well, why does it still carry the same E.T. story all the way through it from Genesis to Revelation?
Exactly.
Come on, guys, wake up. You know, it's the whole story, and it can all be verified historically. Why certain prophecies are given at certain junctures? Well, that's part of what we have to find out, because those prophecies still apply today.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. You mentioned Enoch earlier.
Oh, fantastic book. That'll blow your mind.
Well, I'm sorry, not Enoch. What was that one prophet you told me about that you mentioned earlier? I forgot now.
Was it Malachi?
Not Malachi.
Malachi's the one with the sun with the wings. Let's see.
There was one prophet that talks about the 200 with the human females and stuff. I can't remember his name right now.
That's from Enoch, but it's taken out
Enoch.
of the book of Enoch.
That's actually taken out of the Anunnaki story.
Well,
because the 200 were the Eligi, which came down from the moon, and they demanded the human females.
Now you want to hear something even more interesting?
Yes.
The other day I did a search. How many Hindu gods were there? I know there was a lot, but I didn't know exactly how many. I did a search, and it's interesting. I came up with the number of 330 million gods there are in the Hindu religion. And I'm thinking 330 million. I was like, whoa, isn't that interesting? Because when you run the numbers from Revelation, it talks about myriads of angels that are on the loyalist side, and that number can calculate out to 200 million. And if the demonic forces number 100 million, doesn't that come out to 300 million? Yeah, close enough. So here you have the Hindu religion named them all.
and then there's the watchers in the sky who are watching us.
Which I may believe I had a personal visit from. Some blue orb appeared right between me and the flying deer and stopped it from coming through the windshield of my car, and I was traveling over 60 miles an hour. It left a nice round indentation in the glass. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. It came out of nowhere. It just appeared. So I have to believe that it was interdimensional. And boy, what timing! So it goes to show you that time is relative. You know, it popped in and popped out. You know, who knows where he was before? Maybe he was sitting down the front having a drink. Oh, I got to go save somebody's life. I'll be right back. Bink, bink.
Well, according to astrology, we're in the age of enlightenment, or the age of Aquarius, which is probably where this quantum energy is coming from in the universe. It's why some people are actually waking up, the ones that are kind of tuned in, if you will.
You bring up a good point, because we're supposedly going through the photon belt, which lasts 2,000 years. Now, the interesting thing about this is when you compare it to what it says in Revelation, the 21st chapter, within this, the photon belt is supposed to help repair DNA, and it shortens the half-life of radiation. It's supposed to do all wonderful things for the planet. Maybe that's why the chemtrails are out there. But it's supposed to cause a personal awakening and understanding. All of a sudden, you know, you start becoming more aware. And so do your children.
Which will allow us to go to the next level.
Yeah, because it's through the next 1,000 years that our DNA is totally repaired and we're brought back to perfection. And then, as it says in Revelation, the 21st chapter, we're brought together with the energy of the multiverse.
DNA is changing now.
There you go.
What the hell are they battling over? Is it us or amongst themselves? Good
no,
question.
It's over us. It's over our future. This is
they can't have
the satanic seed versus the woman seed, which is all coming down to a battle now. And it's the woman seed, which will, you know, you've got the story of Gaia. Okay, well, there might be a correlation. But you see, it's understanding the organization of it, that there's actually a multi-dimensional organization. You're actually going contrary to the vibrations which the dynamic energy of this multiverse is giving off. It's already foreseen what it wants, and it's going to have it regardless of what the situation is. And so the harder you resist, the more pain you endure. So stop resisting, love everybody, and let's get over this thing.
Exactly.
Right. And
Michael,
it was mentioned. Oh, go ahead, Pop.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me into the conversation this evening. It was delightful. I wouldn't have missed this for the world.
Well, we enjoyed your comments.
I'm just glad that you guys allowed me to come into this conversation.
Yeah, Bill, you've got some excellent information. I would encourage you to turn around and get a copy of my book, Letters to Earth, You Can Survive Armageddon. I didn't write this to turn around and be an author in this last days movement, if you want to call it that. I did the research for myself, just because I needed to have, I lived in a duality, essentially, between science and the Bible. And until I turned around and started saying, aha, that's how this fits to that. And it took a 35-year process to do that. And then somebody said, you need to write a book. So I did. But you'll find it interesting, because I looked for the answers for myself. I needed to know where we came from, how we got here, what our purpose is, and what kind of future are we going to have. What was the whole purpose for creating the children of God? Let us create man in our image. What changed here? Folks, you're going to have to tune in on Friday. I'm actually going to be back, I think, on Friday. Is that right, Michael?
Yes, absolutely. You are going to be back.
Fantastic.
And we're going to actually have a treat for you on Friday. There may be a new weekly show coming to Late Night in the Midlands. We haven't quite figured that out yet.
Well, I hope it's your show, Peter. You run one heck of a show.
Well, not exactly, but I think Michael and I came to a happy medium on this, so to speak.
Absolutely.
I'm a much better guest than I am a radio show host, and Michael's a much better radio show host than he is a guest, so it works out nicely. We're going to actually co-host a show together. We just have to, put it together. I've got a great name for it. I don't know if Michael likes it or not, but you'll hear more about this on Friday. So join us on Friday night. And bring your questions and make your comments. I mean, Bill, you've made Bob, you made some great comments tonight and had some fantastic information. And it's this type of personal research that not everybody has the time to do. So when they can hear about this and then they have access to where you are or to that information, it only goes to build their faith that something has happened. And look, we've got the documents and the data to prove it. Yeah. So bravo to you. And great questions again.
If you're looking for a bland personality to join in, just give me a call, okay? I mean, I'll be more than happy.
Well, you know what? Listen in with us and call anytime you like, and you don't even have to agree.
We will be listening also.
Well, I certainly hope so, because the more people that listen, the more people that tune in. I don't candy coat anything. My life is an anomaly in itself. That there's no reason why I should even be here except to tell other people the knowledge which I've been able to accumulate and let them decide if it makes sense to them or not. It made sense to me. So yeah. We've got about 2 minutes left here. Folks, I'm going to sign off.
Actually, wait a minute. Actually, we don't. We got, if you want it, we still have 32 minutes because I started a half hour late.
Oh, really? I'm looking at the clock thinking that we're going to run down here. Well, I'll tell you what.
I would have been interrupting already.
Well, if I can, I need to give a warning. I'm not sure how much longer my phone will last, so if it accidentally goes beep, you'll know what happened.
Not a problem. Where can people find out more information? You said that you put your email address on there. Why don't you give it out so people can write it down? It's in the chat now.
We just posted our website in the chat room.
Okay.
It's the Colburn. Let me go back here. I'm tired. I know you. Yeah. I just threw it in with the Colburn Planet X Nibiru group. It's a Yahoo group. It's posted right there in the chat room.
Okay, I'll have to go. I'll have to check that out right after the show. Okay. I hate doing anything on the computer while we're on the air because I know how easily Skype tends to mess up on us. So whatever.
Yeah, I don't even want to go there. We've lost 2 desktop computers and at least 7 hard drives and laptops since doing this research.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. When I started writing my book, I lost 2 hard drives. You want to talk about being totally upset? And I started backing up everything everywhere that I could on different mediums. Yeah, so they know when you're starting to do something. They keep track of all this. Now they want to record everyone's conversation and store it. So
we're already doing that. Homeland Security, then. Well, give them a shout out. Hello, Homeland Security. I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight.
Come on as a guest. We'd love to have you. We've got lots of questions to ask, and you can give us your standard pat answers. We'll be happy with them. And the same for MI5 or MI6 and any of the other alphabet companies. That they're more than welcome to join us anytime that they want and air their opinions.
Sure.
I have no problem with that. What are we going to argue on? The existence of whether Nibiru is really there, and then all of a sudden they're going to turn around and say, well, we found out, yep, thank you very much, have a good day.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, God.
Michael, why don't we take a commercial break, and because I could use one, and why don't we come back and... Yeah, we're at the top of the hour here. Yeah, we're already playing host and co-host here or something. I don't know.
All right, Peter. Hang on with us. And, Bob, if your phone lasts, we'll bring we've got a show that comes out of China, 10 a.m. Eastern time that starts. Then we've got the Hurricane Hour. We've got the Jose Collazo show. We've got Paranormal Perception. We've got Mysterious Realms. So check out the radio schedule over on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. It's a tab up at the top of the website. Just click that tab, and you can see the different times and dates of the shows that we present to you here on the L&M Radio Network. And please get over to LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Become a member. Be informed. Spread our material around these shows. Go ahead and spread them wherever you like. We want to get the word out no matter what it is we're talking about. So thank you for your support. And let's get back to it here with Peter. I got to find you, Peter. We've got so many on the phone lines here tonight listening. Peter Kling, we are back. And, Bob, I'm going to give you a chance to finish up here. You've got about, 5 minutes, I guess. And I want to give you at least that to finish up with whatever it is you want to say.
Okay, sure.
Right.
Am I going first, or is Peter going first?
No, go ahead, Bob. I enjoy the information. I love when people come up with information that supports the exact things which we've been saying for quite some time, and you add a different dimension by bringing in what's actually being recorded in these other civilizations, especially the Egyptian civilization, because everything is so covered up there, and the Egyptians had a reputation of chiseling away what they didn't like. Once it was chiseled in stone, and all of a sudden they didn't fare well on it, or they came across something they didn't. They just wouldn't record it, chisel over it.
And that was exactly what they did with the Hyksos. They tried to remove all of the history, but they left some things behind. And that guy Simca Jacobo, he actually sent me into that direction years ago with his Exodus Decoded, because I had never heard of those people. Okay. Akhmos I reunited Upper and Lower Egypt starting the 18th Egyptian dynasty. And sometime afterwards, he had a stela made to tell the people exactly what he had ordered repaired. It's now called the Tempest Stela of Akhmos I on the Internet. It goes into fairly decent detail. This had to be repaired, that was flooded out, and oh, by the way, the pyramids collapsed. This is all in Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Interesting.
Okay? So it's all been there. All this stuff has been up, but no one talks about it.
Yeah,
so
this information is very, very controlled. So, if we had enough time, I'd talk about all of the Robert Schoch / Dr. Hari Zawas situation where Shock said, "Hey, there's a cavern down there," and for years, Hawass would say, "No, there's not. No, there's not." Yep. Until they said, "Oh, we found the tomb of Osiris, but nothing was in there. Yeah. It was looted." Wait a minute, isn't this where Edgar Casey said we'd find all that information? And I know for a fact it was taken. Well, I can't say I know for a fact. I've got an interesting personal encounter with somebody who was digging over there. And interesting information was relayed that they did indeed take stuff out of that tomb and that it was smuggled away in the wake of 6 deaths.
Let me try and go into a little bit. Okay, Ippur, like I said, was a highly trained Egyptian scribe. Akhmos I, after the Exodus, demanded to know how the god of the slaves, his magic was more powerful than all of Egypt's magic. So he demanded to have all of the information on this god brought forward and archived. This is why you have all those old Sumerian tablets still. Okay? Afterwards, Ippur's reports were split up. Part went into other areas which became part of the Kolbrin, Kolbrin. There are a huge amount of ancient texts in there that talk about the destroyer coming back time and time again. The destroyer is one of the many names that Nibiru has been called over the centuries. In Ippur's work, he mentions that a tremendous flood came into Egypt and had everything flooded. Robert Schoch mentioned years ago that there was water damage all around the Sphinx.
Absolutely.
We've been trying to get him to at least answer, was this part of that, but we haven't gotten anything back from him. Because there are actually 2 parts of Ippur's works. A huge amount went into what became the Kolbrin Bible, just the Kolbrin, to keep it simple. The other one was one scroll that was found, I think back in the 1800s, where in his same text and talking, he talks about how everything was severely flooded. And in both parts, the part in the Kolbrin and the part in the scroll, he mentions that the fire on high, which is Nibiru, followed the evildoers and slaves out of Egypt. And that's where it happened. That's where several days later the Pharaoh was killed, battling the tail end of not only the eagles and slaves, but a huge amount of Egyptians that went with them. Okay? I will send you a copy of the Kolbrin version, and you can easily pick up the Ippur version on the internet.
Sure. But, and this, here's an interesting thing. When you go look at what it says in Acts, the 7th chapter, here's a connector and that very few people ever talk about. When I came across it, I was like, aha, there it is. It is a smoking gun. It's actually listed twice. It's in Acts, the 7th chapter, the 42nd and 43rd verse, and I'll paraphrase it here, but this is the disciple Stephen standing before the Sanhedrin. This is the high court in Judea in the 1st century. And he quotes the prophet Amos, and he says, "Was it to me, O Israel, to whom you worship those 40 years in the wilderness? No, it was to the tent of Molech and the god of the star Remphan, to whom you made images and idols and sacrifices to. And for that I will send you far beyond Babylon." Now, that came about when Babylon conquered Jerusalem somewhere around 600 B.C. But it comes about again when Titus conquers Jerusalem in 70. He takes, out of 2 million people who they were able to capture in the city, they kill all but 90,000, roughly 90,000, and they take them back to Rome. So there's another prophecy, both from the Hebrew against Jerusalem and against with Stephen against Jerusalem. But now these people who were Molech worshippers, who were doing this for the 40 years after they came out of Egypt, were now transported to Europe, became part of European society, and guess what? They're in control of the world today.
Mm-hmm. The powers that be have been in control for a very, very, very long time.
Absolutely. And so now you have to go look back at pre-Egyptian roots, and you want to bet it'll wind up in the kingdom of Nimrod? Remember, they became enemies after a while. But here's and Nimrod's westernmost city, I believe, was Nineveh, which goes into Assyria. And the biblical prophecies of the king of the north and the king of the south start out between Egypt and Assyria. So it's interesting, the natural progression of things when you start looking and comparing the prophecies to the things that we're seeing now. And what more can I say?
One quick thing, if I can say real quick. In the movie that Simca did, the Exodus Decoded, they were talking about Avaris, which was the capital city of the Hyksos while they were there in Egypt. And everyone is probably asking, well, no, that couldn't have happened. There would have been ash still all over the place, whatever. In there, one of the archaeologists was holding up huge pieces of pumice that they found covering Avaris. These were the pumice rocks, which they never went too much further into it. More than likely came directly from Thera, which is now Santorini.
Yeah, they believe that was one hell of an explosion when that sucker went off.
That happened because of the gravitational attraction of Nibiru. Just as right now we have more volcanoes in active condition than ever in human history.
And here's another little side note. Starting about 15 years ago, earthquakes have increased over 700% now.
Yes.
So
and now they're higher in the 6-point and above range than they ever have been before.
Yeah, and they're actually being lowered in magnitude. I've seen a lot of discrepancies coming across.
GSA is deliberately doing.
Yeah.
GSA is deliberately doing that, but the European websites are not. They're putting them as they are being reported. And there's also a new piece of a tectonic plate coming up down in the Australian Indo plate.
Interesting.
Yes.
I've been hearing about the sea level or the seafloor movement in that general area. So
it's risen well over 2,000 feet.
Yeah, it's been bulging and then going back and bulging and then going back. And I'm quite scratching my head about this, and I'm wondering, why aren't we seeing massive tidal waves? You know,
to be honest, I don't want to see them, but yes.
You know, it's a legitimate question. It's like, if the Earth is bulging like this, then there's got to be a reason why the water isn't reaching the shores. And here you got to question things like HAARP and devices that we don't understand. The Earth has a belly bulge in the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, and that belly bulge is supposed to be somewhere around 500 meters. Yeah. So there's a wall of water 500 meters sitting out there.
Another good question.
That is something I just cannot answer.
The collapse, the pyramids, he says if they collapsed around the time of Moses, who rebuilt them?
No one did. They are exactly as they are because of what happened. In the Ipuwer text that comes from the Kolbrin, he is telling about earthquakes. Everything's just badly being shaken. The earth is splitting open. Fire is coming out of the earth. Okay? And this is happening for 7 to 9 days. And the Ipuwer scroll, which is on the internet, also tells about these same things happening. So the planet that's facing Nibiru is undergoing tremendous tectonic problems, earthquakes, volcanoes, and all this other junk coming from the sky. And that is why the pyramids look exactly the way they are. The Tempest Stela is very clear. When they found it, they put it back together and made a copy, just as you saw in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And that copy still exists, even though the Stela pieces are in the basement of the Egyptian Museum and are under lock and key. No one can see them.
Somebody told me that the head of the Sphinx had been replaced, that it used to be something else.
Well, here's where you get into something that Dr. Schock said. He put the estimated age of the Sphinx between 7,000 and 15,000 years old. Now that's he's a geologist. He's not a theologian or he's not an evangelicist. He's not looking for a biblical answer. However, I am looking for a biblical answer. And here's the thing.
I'm just looking for a damn answer.
It's clear evidence with the horizontal rain and as much horizontal erosion that's taken place on the Sphinx. It has to be pre-flood. Yes. And chances are that it was a lion, indicating the constellation Leo as a timer. Because if I recall correctly, it was facing Leo.
But if you read the Lost Book of Enki, Marduk was the one that created the Sphinx. and it was changed afterwards.
Yeah.
Now, going back to
I wouldn't doubt that.
One other thing.
Yeah.
The last time, the time when Nibiru's orbit caused the Great Flood, 12,900, 13,000 years ago, was also the exact same time Atlantis disappeared.
Yeah, you see, that's the problem. We get this stuff, and because we don't have an available historical record of it or proof that
Correct.
it ever existed, it goes into mythology. But
right.
when you get back far enough, you see, I always ask the question, what happened to Neanderthal man? What happened to Cro-Magnon man? When did they disappear? Oh, about 14,000 years ago. Oh, that's interesting. So what came after that? Oh, modern humans. Wait a minute, 14,000 years?
Right.
You mean the last time that we crossed the equator of the universe, or the galaxy here? Yeah, that's about the same time. And what happened after that? Well, we went through the photon belt, which lasted about 2,000 years. Really? And what came out on the other side of the photon belt? Oh, the story of Adam and Eve came out on the other side of the photon belt.
Mm-hmm.
See, about 11 to 12,000,
Okay.
11 to 14,000 years ago, that was the time that Atlantis was supposed to be
exactly.
around. And it's my understanding that they had major technology.
Well, here's
Atlantis
the thing.
was the Anunnaki.
Well,
The Anunnaki, according to Sitchin, were living around the planet.
Well, let's back up here. Before we say that they were the Anunnaki, I have a slightly different classification for them. They were the genetic engineers of this rock.
Yes.
And more than likely, Atlantis was set up. You remember in Jurassic Park, they had the park, but all the biological engineering was being done on another island.
Yes.
And so Atlantis was that other island for the genetic engineering program. Now, there's pure evidence that we've been genetically engineered versus evolved. The problem with evolved is it doesn't involve a god. So, you know, you can't take living matter out of the equation. And if this Earth is alive and this universe, as they're now figuring out, is alive, our three-dimensional universe, well, guess what? If the three-dimensional universe is alive, what about the multiverse that makes it all possible? Those are the 7 dimensions. Oh, you mean those spiritual dimensions where God lives? Yeah, them. Those are the ones that we need.
now, if I can, I want to throw one more thing in.
All right, one more minute, Bob, and then we're going to close shop.
Fast.
Go ahead.
In the book, The Lost Book of Enki, when he's ready to work on the humans, he shows off the cages of hybrids of humans mixed with other animals. That is in the book. That could explain some of the weird stuff in history.
You mean that's going on Plum Island?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Where did that genetic information come from? Oh, yeah, the same people who are giving it to the military to make super weapons. What are they making super weapons for? You know, we hit an interesting thing. Bob, you're going to have to come back on the show, maybe Friday night. It'll be an interesting conversation.
Give us a call Friday if you're around.
No problem.
Yeah.
If I'm invited, no problem.
Yeah, definitely. Because I got to come back on Friday anyway, according to schedule. And, you know, there's so much in what you have here, which we can talk about and explore in other ways, things that actually, the historical events, because it's cycling. That's why history repeats itself.
Exactly.
Cycling, and we're going through another cycle. And so now
we have the higher technology this time. They wanted us to survive.
Yeah, and you see that's one issue that we didn't. That I'm going to play devil's advocate on Friday, and we're going to have a very interesting little change of state when I'm done.
Sure.
And it'll put things into perspective for a lot of people on how we got to this situation where we got now, and it all has to do with us being genetically engineered and Lucifer.
All right, and Bob, I want to thank you so much, my friend. Call back in on Friday. We start at 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Peter will be coming on with me around the 9:30 mark. That's Eastern time. So jump on with us, man. We'd love to have you back, and who knows, we might have some other visitors as well. And I do appreciate it. We've had a fantastic show here tonight. Peter, I want to give you about a minute and a half here to, well, you got a minute and a half.
Well, here we go.
You got to get out. Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
You know, do join us on Friday. We'll have a little bit clearer understanding on what's actually going to take place for next week's program, and we'll tell you more about what's coming up and hopefully a few things that we can do in the future. We're living at a very interesting time now, and guess what? I'm coming back to radio. Oh, no! Are we that close? Yeah, we are.
We are.
And look at all the things that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Whoa, talk about an information download. It's like being in a shooting gallery between the asteroids, between the Pope resigning, between the lightning bolt at the Vatican and the pigeon getting eaten by the seagull. You know, Kevin Annett and the guilty verdict coming out of Brussels. The work that Adnan Sakli is supposed to be doing with calling an accounting of everybody's debit sheet. Whoa. Hold on tight. Hold on tight. Be prepared. But don't live in fear. Live in a state of education, because if you're educated,